Hello everyone, welcome to another beer review and welcome to another Wednesday video. Now, we've done one of these beers before and I've got a kind of a confession. I actually bought 3 of these bloody beers, which I was dubious about at the time, but they were on sale in Tesco's and I bought 3 different types. I'm now very dubious after reviewing the first one, and it turned out to be complete utter Alcopops. I didn't taste anything like beer, and that was the blood orange one. Well, today we're on the Jubel beer, but it's cut with lemon. Yeah, I'm a wee bit more knowledgeable now, so I've got a kind of rough idea where this one's going to go. Oh Jesus God. And the whiskey of choice to go along with this one is the same as the whiskey for choice, excuse me, for the last one that I did, which is a low flyer, or the famous grouse, which is 40%, and yeah, it's a good standard kind of blended whiskey. In fact, it's the best selling whiskey in the UK by volume. So it is. In fact, I think it was previously, and then it took the crown back in 2019 from Jack Daniels. You know, when all these people wanted Jack and Coke, you know. Oh, there was jacking everywhere. There was Jack in your car. Oh, it was unbelievable. You know, people were just having Jack Daniels everywhere. You know. And yeah, it's quite a nice blended whiskey because it doesn't have that kind of overly sherry kind of cask kind of flavour and sweetness, especially if you add water to it. And it doesn't have the earthiness of Bell, so it's a kind of a more balanced, so it doesn't have too many flavours one way or too many flavours the other way. So it's actually just a nice easy drinking, quite a mellow, nicely balanced blended whiskey, and yeah, quite enjoyable. It's one of these ones where you won't get sick of it if you're having a night on it, or you're having quite a few. It's not as sickening like some of the other ones. We've got what I call the Central Belt sherry cask brigade, whereas there's certain ones that are quite strong in the old sherry cask and kind of sherry cask sweetness. Grant's is a little bit of that. White Mackay is very much so, which is okay for a couple, but can obviously get a little bit more sickening after a while and things like that. So if you just want something a little bit more easy going and a bit more drinkable by volume, then I would probably say that Famous Grouse is a good place to start, and it's quite a good one to also start if you want to kind of get into whiskey and start whiskey. If you do prefer a sweeter palate, then maybe go for a Grant's or a White Mackay. If you want something a little bit more earthy and things like that, then yeah, look for Bell's or something like that. But let's get back to this wonderful beer, or Alcopops, whatever you want to call it. It's the same spiel it was on the last time, so I'm not reading it out. It's still apparently dangerously refreshing. Jubel, apparently, again, I'll repeat that, is a feeling of extreme joy, which is exactly the opposite of what I was feeling after I reviewed the first one. And this being the second one, which isn't so bad because it means it's a case of I've only got one more to go. But the first one, it kind of, the aroma of it, the smell of it was kind of a bit like Fresca. It reminded me of Fresca, which was a kind of a Coca-Cola kind of soft drink. Well, it was a soft drink by the Coca-Cola company from the kind of the 70s. It was actually quite nice. I quite liked it as a kid. But when you open a can thinking you're going to get beer, it's not really what you're kind of expecting. It's a wee bit of a culture shock. But this is again 4%, 330ml. Again, I'll put the prices down below. And yeah, most of this was going to be Sprite, 7-Up. I don't know what it's going to be like. Right, anyway, I've got a nonce glass. I explained the last time why I call it a nonce glass is because the wife uses these glasses to put her Diet Coke in when she's drinking her whiskey. She has a whiskey glass and then she puts a little kind of chaser, a palate cleanser of a soft drink, but she doesn't want it too sweet, so she puts a Diet Coke in there about a quarter of the way up and then tops it with ice and water, so it's not as sweet, things like that, so it's not such a big contrast between the whiskey and the palate cleanser. And there you go. So I call it the nonce glass, you know, just to wind it up. Right, let's crack this open and see where it takes us. I should have poured the whiskey already because I know what I'm getting here, haven't I? But I'll wait till I smell it, you never know. Again, it's like the one that was cut with the blood orange, because that was the first one we did. It's very light in colour. It's like almost like a Hellas. It doesn't show up how pale and light it is on the camera and the screen I'm looking at, but it's about 5 shades lighter in reality. Smell wise? Not like Fresca. A bit more lemony. Yeah. So this is more of a lemon smell. But again, doesn't feel particularly natural. It's going to cost me a fortune. By the way, if you notice, whiskey kind of has gone down a bit. We need to get some more stock in, by the way. We're kind of getting low. Especially if this twat keeps buying bloody beer like this. Then I'm going to run dry very quickly. Whiskey poured. A wee bit of water. Thank you very much. And there we go. Right, almost ready to go. Right, so yeah, getting lemony tones, but also getting slightly grapefruity kind of tones. But again, no beer flavours, no kind of aromas associated with beers like malt or hops or anything like that. Just getting a kind of lemony type of kind of smell, but again doesn't smell particularly natural, and a little kind of waft, a little accent, or maybe slightly kind of grapefruity. Right. Oh dear. So let's find out. It's not as sweet as the last one. The last one was very sweet. This isn't as sweet. But not as sweet, but still quite sweet. And the aroma is giving you a bit of a kind of a false lead there, because it's actually not really got much of a lemony flavour or anything like that type of stuff. It's very, very light in flavour. In fact, the flavour profile, apart from the sweetness, is very similar to the one that's cut with blood orange, apparently. But yeah, still very much an Alcopops. So it is. There's no strong flavours there. It's very light. And yeah, it's just not a beer. They might be using a very light lager as a base, but the flavour profiles and the sweetness they've added and everything else, one, is not natural. That's the first thing. And two, it doesn't taste of beer in any way, shape or form. So it might be lager based, but that's the only kind. I mean, you could turn around and say, well, a shandy can be lager based, but this is probably kind of similar. I think what was the ones you used to get in the kind of 70s and 80s? Used to get them in silver cans. Is it Top Shandy or something? I'm trying to remember the name of it. I'll put the details down below because I'll look it up just to kind of refresh my memory. But remember, we used to get the Top Deck. Was it Top Deck shandies you used to get in the kind of 70s and 80s? I'm sure it was, but I'll confirm that. It's like that, but all you're tasting is kind of like more lemonade than anything to do with the beer, and it's like that. It's basically like a kind of shandy flavour profile, but with a bit more alcohol because it's 4%. So there you go, and that's what you're getting. Yeah, Top Deck, that was the ones. I'm sure it's called Top Deck. Yeah, so there you go. So they're making kind of alcoholic shandy. So they're promoting non-alcoholic beers as the future while selling shandies with kind of beer amount of alcohol, you know, that kind of equivalent. So yeah, beer levels of alcohol. It's a mad world, isn't it? Really mad world. I'll take a glass of whiskey to bring you back to reality. So I just don't know. I just don't understand that. I'm kind of repeat myself from the last review because again, none of it makes sense to me. It really doesn't. At the time when I reviewed the last one's a bit sweeter than this one, so that's probably why I didn't make the connection with the shandy so much, because it's sweeter than what you would expect from a shandy. Whereas this one is slightly kind of similar. It's still quite sweet, but it's more to the kind of level of sweetness you would get in a shandy. And because it's got the lemon and everything else, it just reminds me of that kind of Top Deck kind of lager and lemonade shandy they used to do. And yeah, that makes more sense. But yeah, so it's like people who like the taste of shandy but wants the alcohol content that's equivalent to beer. That's probably the best way to kind of describe it. If I remember right, going from memory, Top Deck shandies and this both share a very much common ground in the flavour front, that neither actually taste of beer. So yeah, they're both in good company. The thing is though, this doesn't taste of beer either. But goes better with beer than any of these two. I mean, let's be totally honest, if you're sitting with a nice pint on the bar, this would be a nice little kind of accoutrement to go with it. This would not be. Just, yeah. So what would I give? Again, there's no point me breaking down the flavours because there isn't any beer flavours, and I've just described it as like a bloody shandy. And if you've had shandies before, I'm sure you have, especially when you're younger, you'll know that they don't really taste of beer. And yeah, that is absolutely shandy flavours, but with 4%. And the thing is, so there's no resistance because of that. So you're taking something that's 4%, and yeah, you could down it in the water dead easy, just absolute no resistance. And it's not really even overly carbonated, so even then, I mean, it's a bit more carbonated than beer, but I would probably say that a standard kind of shandy is kind of quite carbonated, and this one isn't as carbonated as you would expect, like say a can of shandy would be. So even the carbonation isn't providing much resistance, although while I'm saying that, I'm going to have a, it's always on cue, isn't it? You talk about it, you think, oh, it's not that bad, and then you think, I need to rift, you know, excuse me. Yeah, so it does that just to think, that made you look like a liar, didn't it? Good bodies. So you ever wake up and you think, you know, listen body, can we have an actual day where we can actually work together here instead of you trying to show me up and make me look like an arsehole every fucking 5 minutes? Because especially when you get into your 50s, that's what my body does. Any chance you can get, hey, watch this, I'm making it look like a fucking dilly, watch this. You know, next minute, the fuck, you know what I mean? Oh, look, it's really cold outside. We'll make him sweat like a bastard. Look, a big sweat patch. You'll make him look like some sort of freak. What's this? You love it, you know? Yeah, I think that's what your body does. Geez, you get to a certain age, it's like trying to make you look more fucking stupid than you really are. And trust me, I'm fairly stupid. But the body seems to has this kind of campaign going on, thinking, let's make him look like a complete arse. And the thing is, though, it's doing a wonderful job. Bastard. So yeah, what would I give this? Not this. This out of 10. As a beer, well, I can't give it 0. Let's be totally honest. There's nothing I can actually give it, because it doesn't taste of beer. It doesn't have really any kind of connection to beer, flavour wise or aroma wise. It might have a little bit of a kind of scum and all that. Well, like you say, you can pour out a can of top deck shandy and it would do very kind of similar, but that doesn't make it a beer. So from a beer point of view, it's the same as the last one. It's not as sweet or as bad as the last one, but it's still pretty bad, so I'll give it a 1, because it's a bit like a shandy and it gets a little bit of 1 from nostalgia, because I used to drink Bash? I'll try again. I used to drink Bass shandy and top deck shandy and things like that when I was younger, as a kid. You know, just harnessing my inner beer desires, you know. I wasn't really, actually. Just gonna try to pretend to look more mature while looking like a fucking kid, you know. So, but yeah, for an Alcopops or a kind of shandy alternative, although it's not really much of a shandy alternative, because if you're a designated driver and you're drinking this thinking, oh, well, it's like shandy, yeah, you're going to be over the limit, probably more so than the buggers you're actually taxing about. So this is not a good situation, is it? But if you want the kind of like shandy tones, but with the kind of beer levels of alcohol, then yeah, this is right up your street. This is brilliant. So it's a slight kind of, I suppose, an alternative to an Alcopops. It's more of a kind of alcoholic shandy. As if there was ever a need for that. But anyway, so yeah. So on that basis, I'll give it, as an alcohol kind of pops kind of option, then I'm actually going to get a 5, because it's a bit more drinkable than the last one, because it's not as sweet and it has a kind of bit of kind of connection to kind of most kind of young boys kind of past, you know, and a bit of nostalgia with their kind of desire of trying to look cool, and, you know, got a shandy. It's got more alcohol in it than a Coke. Okay, not by much, but at the end of the day, you know, and if you put it in a glass, which of course if you're out with your pals and you bought a can of it, then you're not going to have, so it's not going to make any difference, you know. So, but yeah, oh, that is quite sweet actually. Probably sweeter than a shandy in a certain degree. But yeah, as a beer, 1 out of 5. As an Alcopop, it's less sweet than the other one, so it gets a little bit more, but it's still an Alcopop. So it gets a 5 out of 10 as an Alcopop. And that's it. So anyway, thanks for watching. Cheers. And bye for now.